Good day everyone, this is Teacher Michelle and welcome to our first video discussion. Just like a musician and an artist, when we write, we set the tone of a composition to his or her purpose, making decisions of what that tone to be to form a structure. A composition might use clean and simple prose, flowery and descriptive passages, or persuasive or analytical techniques. With that, this video contains the 4 types of writing: narrative, expository, descriptive, and persuasive, and the steps in the writing process.
We have here the 4 types of writing: narrative, expository, descriptive, and persuasive. The first type of writing, narrative. When we say narrative, it is used in almost every longer piece of writing, whether fiction or non-fiction. It completes with characters, conflict, and settings. For example, we have novels, short stories, and anecdotes. The second type of writing, expository. When we say expository, it explains a concept imparting information from themselves, from the writers, to a wider audience. It does not include the author's opinion, but focuses on accepted facts about a topic, including statistics or other evidences. For example, textbooks, news stories, and recipes. The third one, descriptive. When we say descriptive, it paints a picture in words of a person, place, or a thing for audience. The author employs metaphor or other literary devices to describe the author's impressions through the 5 senses, such as hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, and tasting. Example, we have poetry, journal or diary writing, and fictional novels. And the fourth one is persuasive. When we say persuasive, it tries to convince the audience of a position or belief. It contains the author's opinions and biases, as well as justifications and reasons given by the author as evidence of the correctness of their position. For example, editorial newspaper articles, advertisement, and reviews. I have here 5 sentences and I want you to identify which type of writing is being described. Number 1. A story about the time you get lost at Disneyland. Number 2. A web page telling how to create a web page. Number 3. A letter to the governor explaining why the tax increase is a bad idea. Number 4. A poem about the sights and sounds of rainfall. And number 5. An article attempting to convince readers to buy J.K. Rowling's books. I will give you 5 seconds to think of your answers. Let us try to check if your answers are correct. Number 1. The story about the time you get lost at Disneyland. The answer is narrative. Number 2. A web page telling how to create a web page. The answer is expository. 3. A letter to the governor explaining why the tax increase is a bad idea. The answer is persuasive. Number 4. A poem about the sights and sounds of rainfall. It is descriptive, correct. And number 5. An article attempting to convince readers to buy J.K. Rowling's book. The answer is persuasive. This time, let us proceed in the steps in writing the composition. The first step is pre-writing. Second one is drafting. Third one is revising. Fourth one is editing, and then the last one is publishing. Let us start with pre-writing. Pre-writing is the planning phase of the writing process. It involves brainstorming, research, gather and outline ideas. It uses diagrams for mapping out your thoughts. In pre-writing, you do a free write or a journaling exercise. A web diagram is a good technique to create if you've generated lots of ideas in a free write. This will help you go from general to specific and start with the strongest or most interesting idea you have. The second step is drafting. In this step, you will create initial composition. You will write down all ideas in an organized way to convey a particular idea or present an argument. In this step, it will consist of 3 parts: the introduction, the body, and conclusion. In introduction, it is where the topic is described, the issue or problem is summarized, and the argument is presented. The body makes up and supports your argument. There will be 3 paragraphs in here. It will give solution to the problem. It backs up your points with evidences. And the last part is the conclusion. The conclusion is the whole point, or it will summarize your argument. The third step is revising. Revising needs a lot of work to do. It will review, modify, and reorganize the work. It rearranges, adds, and deletes content. It makes a tone and style and content appropriate for the intended audience. The goal of this phase of the writing process is to improve the draft. You need to move paragraphs around to get possible organization of points. You need to delete whole sentences that are repetitive. You need to remove any points that doesn't support your argument. And you need to read over your draft aloud in the revising stage. The fourth step is editing. Remember, there is no writer that writes a perfect argument with flawless organization and construction at first run through. That is why you need to proofread and correct errors in grammar and mechanics. You need to edit to improve style and clarity. Having another writer's feedback in this stage is helpful. In editing, you need to apply the corrections done in the revision part. This time, again, you need to check for the spelling errors and typographical errors. Double-check the spelling with the dictionary and ask someone else to read your work. Last but not least is publishing. In publishing, this is the last step of the writing process. The final writing is shared with the group. Sharing can be accomplished in a variety of ways. It can be printed or published online.
So those are the 4 types of writing and the writing process. With that, thank you for listening and have a good day.